Alright, so what is up guys, it's Zero here, and today I have for you my very late Link Joker deck profile. So at the time of recording, this was after the Dusttail nerf, so that's why we are playing, as you can clearly see, we're playing the Chain list, the Chain variation of the deck instead. Because honestly, with the Dusttail nerf, Dusttail honestly just isn't worth playing anymore because he can't lock the front row. And the deck and you don't really have too many other good starter choices. So I figured that the Chain just offers enough for the deck that you just want to play this instead of playing more of a quote-unquote good stuff list. So yeah, without further ado, here is the list. It's already off to the side, but yeah, here's the list. I'll go over each card and why I choose to play them. I don't have any like replacements like I usually do for other videos because the card pool for Link Joker right now is relatively small, so you don't really have that many other choices. I was bringing up like the other relevant cards you could play are like more vanillas. You could try the Singularity Sniper for grade 2s. Grade 1s you could try like vanillas over like the one of opener, but you honestly have to make that big of a difference. And then grade 3 line honestly you can't change unless you're actually missing stuff. So yeah, just briefly go over that for now, and now we'll go over everything. So first, the starter is the Gravity Ball Dragon. So it is, or not Gravity Ball, sorry, the Micro Hole Draco Kid. So he is a starter for the Chain. His skill is when the Gravity Ball Dragon rides on this card, do check top 7 for a copy of the Gravity Collapse or the Schwarzchild, and add it to hand, either or. And then if you ride anything that's not the Gravity Ball, you pull this up from Soul. And if you also whiff on your top 7 search, you also pull this up from Soul. So it's your generic Chain starter. It's a Chain. I'm personally not a fan of it, but you don't really have much better to play right now, so you play this. It's serviceable enough, nothing too special here. First off, it's next for grade 1s is the PG. Link Joker is a new clan, so a new clan that came out during the Brick Ride era, so or rather the Brick Ride era, so they don't have access to the old PGs, so you're forced to play the new PGs. So take that as you will. You either like it or you don't. But yeah, it is good because your deck is Break Ride aligned, so you don't get held at 3 break crits. So yeah, it's pretty solid enough. Next, we are playing for the Gravity Ball Dragon. So this is the Chain grade 1. This skill is like all the Chains. If you have the Micro Hole and Soul, plus 1k. So as long as you don't whiff your search, this will be an AK base. And then when a grade 2 that's not the Gravity Collapse rides this card, you check top 7, and you ride a Gravity Collapse you see off that top 7. If you whiff it, you just put the cards back in and shuffle it, and you whiff for your grade 2 ride. Yeah, again, standard Chain stuff, nothing too special here. The second skill is nice because if you whiff the grade 2 search off the Micro Hole skill, and you just didn't have the grade 2 in hand, this can potentially help you fix your ride. Nothing too special here. It's what it is. And then on rears, it's a 7k vanilla. At least the scales, right? Speaking of scaling, our next grade 1 that you choose to play a 4 of is the Lanthium. So his skill is when your opponent's rear guard is locked by one of your skills, plus 3k. And this does stack, so say for example with Schwarzchild, if you lock 3 cards, this card gets 9k power. So yeah, that's pretty nice. This card just helps you scale your lanes. When you lock, it can be a solo attacker, and just a solid card. It's probably the best grade 1 that Link Joker has right now. And then next, finally, to round up the grade 1 line, my choice of the 1-up is the Opener of Dark Gates. So her skill looks like a girl to me. So her skill is on play, rear guard circle only. If your opponent has 2 or less rears, you can filter. It's dish 1, drop 1. Nothing too special here. Just do keep in mind that locked rears don't count as rears. So if you like lock their entire board, you can use the skill. Just to keep that in mind, because locked cards do not count as rear guards. Yeah, that's a great 1 line. Pretty standard stuff. You could try pings in this list too, honestly speaking, but I don't really think I have space for that in this, so yeah. And then next up for grade 2s, we have the Gravity Collapse Dragon. So his skill is, again, standard Chain stuff. If you have the Gravity Ball Dragon in your soul, he gets plus 1k, so it puts him at 10k base. Which is actually really relatively relevant because if you go first and you lock your starter, and they don't ride a vanilla, the Vanguard's on a 1-pass. If they put the starter behind the Vanguard, of course. But that usually is how it works if you go first, because more than likely they'll need to put a starter behind the Vanguard to hit your AK base. So yeah, it can be really annoying like that. And then the other skill is on ride, If the gravity ball is in soul, so if long as you have the green one in your soul, you can lock something. So like cheeky stuff you can do with this is that you can rewrite grade 2 and like just keep locking stuff for free, which is something that comes up every once in a while. And since it's part of the ride chain, it's a 9k vanilla on rear. It's just a 9k intercept. Again, it's not amazing because again, ride chain stuff is kind of iffy, but you play it because the ride chain is honest. The lock skill is honestly not that bad. So yeah, solid card, good enough as is. And so yeah, that's how you play this. And it's part of your ride chain, so you're kind of forced to play it. Next, we have these. In my opinion, one of the best cards in the deck, the Mobius Breath Dragon. A lot better in the old list where you had access to Dust Tail fucking front row, so you didn't have to play the ride chain, so you could actually ride this. But yeah, his skill is on hit to Vanguard, lock the card, just free lock. So if you're let's say the reason why this card is so good before in the non-ride chain build because he was your primary ride target for grade 2, and if you just didn't feel comfortable, if you just didn't want to ride to grade 3, you could just stay on Dust Tail and just keep locking something for forever. Like for example, if they put out like a grade 3 to the front or like a 10k attacker in the front, that's a grade 1. You can just stay on this and lock that front row circle forever, meaning they only get 2 attacks per turn, which is cool. So yeah, that is something you can do. But now since you're on the ride chain, you usually just ride the ride chain grade 2 and then you just ride to 3. But sometimes the situation comes up, you do re-ride into this and you just keep locking in front row forever. So yeah, this card is cool. He is your best backup ride, and he is a actual backup plan sometimes. It's not how you just want to stay on 2 and just keep locking in front row forever. So yeah, that's why we choose to play him at 4 over actual cards with rear guard effects, because his skill is only on Vanguard Circle. So he is also like the gravity class where he's a 9k vanilla on rear, but I think the being able to actually choose to lock stuff like that forever while he is on Vanguard Circle is worth playing him at 4 in case situations like that actually arise. And if you happen to whiff this is the best card to ride turn 2, so yeah. Next off, we have actual rear guard grade 2 this time, the Neobium. So his skill, like the Lanthium, is when something is locked by your skill, plus 3k. So again, he lets you scale your lanes. You lock something, you can be a solo attacker. If you happen to actually ride the Mobius Breath, you can make a lane with Neobium and Lanthium, and then that becomes a 22k lane, which scales against basically everything. So yeah, pretty solid card. You play this because you scale, but if you don't really value that for whatever reason, you can play more vanillas. And then next, for our 1-of slot, we just play the vanilla. You don't really have too much anything better to play, so yeah. Vanilla's nice. It's just the vanilla, nothing else to say about it. It's a vanilla. Alright, and then for the grade 3s, I'll start off with the main boss of the deck, the Schwarzchild Dragon. So his skill is Limit Break 4, CB3, Persona Blast. And if you do, lock any 3 cards and he gets 10k and a crit. So this card basically reads CB3 Triangle Lock. You lock double front row and booster behind Vanguard. Now they can't play the game for a turn more likely than not. Yeah, it's strong, and then the crit pressure also just lets you crit them and pressure them for early damage, and the 10k power lets you scale better. So yeah, relatively strong skill, and this card is honestly the best card that Lane Trooper has right now because this is the only card that exudes like extreme amount of lock pressure. Because a lot of times, if you're playing against this deck, a lot of time you'll realize that the only card you're usually ever scared of is Schwartz. Because then you see them on Infinite Zero, like, oh, if they ride Infinite Zero, you don't care. If they ride Nebula Lord, you don't care. But sometimes you're just scared of this card, because this card can actually heal you. So yeah, this card is really solid. Even in the list before I played where I wasn't playing the ride chain, I still just played this card at 4 because this card is just good. And the reason why the card is this good is because because in 0 they buffed his other skill. Because now his other skill, now Vanguard Circle on play, to CB1, they just make a copy of itself. So for CB1, you're guaranteed the Persona Blast. If I remember correctly, in the IRL TCG, he was like dig top 5, I think, to do this. But now he just guarantees himself a copy, so very, very strong. Yeah. Strong card, and then the last skill is just the rushing stuff. If you have the Gravity Collapse and Soul plus 1k, make him 11k base. The only downfall of this card is that it's a 10k base by itself, so on rear it can't hit Vanguard unboosted. That does come every once in a while, but more often than not, you're holding these in your hand to Persona Blast anyway. So yeah, we play 4 of this, obviously, because he is your main boss, and he is part of the ride chain. Next, we have the Break Ride, the Infinite Zero Dragon. So his skill is Limit Break 4, Break Ride, CB1, give 10k, and lock 1 front row, lock 1 back row. If I remember correctly, this was free IRL, so this was technically a nerf, but card's still pretty good. Really cheap front row lock. Unfortunate. Before with Dusttail, you could go like do this and then Dusttail CB1 again to lock the other front row, but can't do that anymore. But the CB1 to lock 1 card is still pretty nice. And then another skill is the Waterfall skill. On attacking Vanguard plus 3k. Relatively solid. This card just solid overall. This lets you scale early. And then this is still a cheap lock, so yeah. Honestly, pretty solid card. You're probably gonna need this for like later when Chaos Breaker and stuff comes out, but for now it's still a pretty okay card that you will play it for. And then the card that I opt to play as my heal trigger is the Nebula Lord Dragon. So his skill is Limit Break 4. Limit Break 4 at the start of your battle phase. All of your front row rears get plus 3k per locked card that your opponent has on their board. And if they have three or more locked cards, you draw a card. So what you would do as a backup plan is like you ride the Infinite Zero and then you break right the Nebula Lord, lock 2 cards, and then use his skill, which is CB1, to lock any back row. And now they have 3 locks, and now your front row gets plus 9k, meaning everything should scale, and you get 1 draw. Before, this was a lot more impressive with the Dusttail because you could lock double front row and 1 back row, and still get the draw off for 2 counter blasts. But now you can't do that anymore, so makes this card a little more underwhelming. But the CB1 to lock a back row, the other skill that he has, can be very annoying for other decks because you can just keep locking the back row. They can't play the game because they can't boost sometimes. And then yeah, and this isn't limit break locked. You can do this before limit break, so yeah, pretty okay card. You honestly play him for the CB1 lock a back row more than the limit break skill, because this card can definitely annoy certain decks that don't have like 12k attackers and stuff. If they don't choose to play them, or they don't draw them. This can also annoy Revengers in the sense that if you lock like 1 or 2 back row, you make it so they're forced to stack off the front row for Raging Form skill. So yeah, that's just something that's interesting. So then you can lock obviously against like Aquaforce or something, you can lock their Diamantes, or you can just lock double back row. Now they can't swap anymore. I mean, they can't do the 4 attacks. So yeah, this card has like very cool niche uses, but he's honestly, in my opinion, like the least impressive Raid 3 of the batch. And lastly, to round out the Raid 3 lineup is the Knight of Entropy. So his skill is Limit Break 4, when attacking Vanguard, plus 5k, that's like actually whatever. And then another skill is On Ride, CB2, lock any regard. This is okay, he's your 1-0 for a reason. If he was 11k, I'd honestly play him as my heal over Nebula Lord, but that's neither here nor there. He's 10k base here, meaning with this he heals 15, meaning he'll scale with any booster but the 5k starter if you pull it out. Yeah, this card is just the 1-of. You don't really have much else to play. I would not play a beater over this because at least this can do something sometimes. But yeah, this is the list. There's honestly not a whole lot of variation to Link Joker right now. The Ride Chain build is, in my opinion, the superior build right now because Dusttail basically doesn't do anything anymore. But yeah, this is it for the list. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuffs. And after this, I'll probably have some games for you guys. I promise you, if I decide to not be lazy, I'll actually have commentary with the gameplay for once in my life. But not this time. Not this time. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you liked the video. One more thing. If y'all want to watch me actually play the game with commentary, check me out on my Twitch. The link is in the description. Yeah, see you guys next time. Peace out.